Welcome back everyone to the Chris Freeman subdivision home study. Today I'm going to be introducing some more professionals. You've already met Michelle, my finance partner, and I guess one of the most important people in the whole subdivision process is your building subdivision designer. And today I have here Kruno, who left university 15 years ago and has been dealing on a regular basis with the Geelong Council now for 8 years. So Kruno's going to share with you, his experience and just talk a little bit about the actual, what his role is in the subdivision process. So Kruno, can you tell us a little bit from the start when we first, find a property, what you do and what your role is?
Sure. When I'm approached after somebody has purchased a property, I do a preliminary review of the property.
Yep.
So just ascertain what the limitations are.
Yep.
So I review the planning controls on that property and also the title and any restrictions on that title.
Yep.
Once I've prepared that preliminary review, I will go out to the site and take some measurements just to determine how much space there is on that block of land, and in coordination with the planning regulations come up with a preliminary sketch just to determine what size of dwelling we can fit in the backyard, which is the first sort of preliminary assessment of the site.
Okay, Kruno, so I guess what does the term sort of code compliant mean in the industry? What are we looking there when we're looking for something that's code compliant?
Sure. Today, the current planning regulations is a document called Res Code.
Yep.
And that document, Res Code, if you want to add a second dwelling, has 34 requirements that you need to demonstrate compliance with.
Okay.
Some of them you can vary and others are fixed. So I review that site in light of those 34 requirements and then make an assessment based on what council's decisions have been in the past about the likely development potential of that land.
Okay,
site.
Great. So what we're looking at, Kruno, is that in this home study we're looking at turning one property into two properties, and I guess essentially they come in three different forms in the Geelong area which we're targeting. That would be in the form of a corner block, a larger block where you can have a separate title, and then also another block where you actually have a shared driveway. So you just briefly explain the differences between those three examples?
Sure. A corner block is one where potentially you can get two street frontages. So the original house may front one street and you subdivide off the backyard and it has a separate street frontage. Those subdivisions produce generally two different street addresses, and in addition to providing the two separate street addresses, both properties still enjoy a street frontage. There's different levels of services that go into a corner subdivision. So with a corner subdivision, you need to be aware of where the infrastructure is, and if you need to extend that infrastructure via a mains extension. That doesn't generally exist when you're subdividing a backyard with or without common property. A subdivision where there is no common property is generally referred to as a battle axe subdivision. So the existing dwelling remains at the front and you carve off a battle axe shape, including a driveway and access and the block to the backyard. What that does, it relies on a couple of key dimensions to make that work. So you have separate vehicle access for both properties, and there are no common property in that type of a subdivision. You do need to service both blocks of land with infrastructure, being water, sewer, electricity, telephone, gas. But essentially you end up with two titles without any common property. And the third type of subdivision which are referred to is one where there is a shared driveway and two lots of land, but both of them have access to that driveway and the driveway becomes common property. So there's common property that services two lots.
Okay, great.
In all examples, you still need to supply the the infrastructure to both lots.
And when you say infrastructure, I mean, I know that you go out and you inspect the properties, you physically go out there and inspect them, but before that you get the flood overlay, you get the Barwon water reports, you get the zoning overlays and all that sort of thing. So you look at all that and then you physically go out and look at the properties. So
Yes.
why do you actually physically go out there and have a look?
It's difficult to see everything without doing a visual inspection. The visual inspection also identifies things that council are interested in as well. So, where windows and doors and entry to the existing house is, as well as what the neighbouring properties are doing. Traffic engineering has requirements in addition to council, so electricity poles may or may not allow you to put an extra crossover in. So there's all things that are not picked up in reports or overlays that can determine how you develop a property.
Okay, great. So apart from this, I mean, tell us a little bit about, 8 years you've been dealing with the Geelong City Council, just a little bit about, what your relationship is like with them and how you feel they are as a council towards this type of development.
I like working with them. They are generally, the planning policies support dual occupancies and subdivision, especially in established areas. And provided that the infrastructure's there, then to date we haven't really had any issues with subdividing properties.
Okay, great. So Kruno does this. He's also worked on projects of up to 30 apartments at a time, is that correct? In the Geelong area and some parts of Port Melbourne. There's a lot of action going on between, I guess, Geelong and Torquay. There's a lot of activity out there at the moment. Are you involved in some of that as well?
Yeah, we've done some developments at Warralilly, which is the new subdivision at Mount Dunedin. So it's a future growth corridor in Geelong, sort of leading down towards Torquay. We've also done a number of houses in Torquay. So we're generally spread right from Werribee out to Torquay, down to Lorne.
So look, the good thing about Kruno is that he lives and breathes Geelong. He's lived there for in excess of 10 years as far as I know. So he has a good relationship with council. He knows the area intimately. So he is an integral part of the team. So thanks, Kruno, for coming in today and sharing that with us.
Thank you.